At this point, it should be clear to everyone that the beef between Kendrick and Drake was not simply a beef. It wasn't simply accusations and a public battle. It was much more than that. It was an epic clash of champions, people who represent ideas, people who represent other people. So it wasn't just one person versus one person. It was one person representing so many things and so many people versus another. Given that epic scale that this whole thing had, given the amount of attention that it received, this was a rare time in world history where like the most important thing that was happening wasn't politics or TV or movies or sports. It was like these two people fighting. It gives it this whole epic scale. And people like myself have tried to compare this to other sort of epic clashes of champions to make it clear how grand of a moment this was. I think of my colleague Justin Hunt, my YouTube colleague Justin Hunt, who called it a Shakespearean shakedown. I myself have had all sorts of references. I think I really settled on Achilles versus Hector. You can check out my video on that if you want to. And even today, I'm going to add one more historical precedent. I'm going to compare this beef to the greatest boxing match of all time, which happened 50 years ago in the country currently known as the Democratic Republic of the Congo. But more than that, not only can you do that, and I think we should, and I encourage you, if you have the inkling, to leave a comment in my section or do your own YouTube video, compare this to other moments in the past, other great epic clashes between champions of ideas, okay? You can tell me that, but also, what if we did it in reverse? What if we use this beef as a way to describe other epic clashes going forward? And that's why you see the title of this video. I haven't settled on it yet. It's probably going to be something like, I don't know, how the Biden administration Kendricked Trump into Drake or something goofy like that, because I really think understanding what's happened in the last few weeks, how the Democratic Party has managed to draw even and potentially even surpass the Republican Party at such low odds at the time, can be seen through the lens of Kendrick and Drake. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who, I will admit my bias. I do not like Trump. I do not think he's a good guy. I do like Biden. Like, I think he is a great president, not a good president. If either of those things bother you and you can't watch anymore, I understand. But hey, listen, I'm just telling you how I feel. You feel differently. Lots of reasons not to like Mr. Robinette here, and I understand them all. But my video isn't really about Trump bad, Biden good, or vice versa. It's about the way that this fight has happened, the way that we somehow have a point where the Biden administration has pulled even from such low odds. Now, I've already compared Drake to Trump. I did a whole video a couple months ago in the middle of the beef where I explained that, like, he's unbeatable. In a way, Trump and Drake are both unbeatable. And I was making this point, and at that point I wasn't calling Kendrick Biden. I was calling him Anderson Cooper, sort of like a liberal commentator who thinks that they can defeat with logic and reason, who thinks they can defeat somebody with points and with truth, and instead you just keep making them stronger. Because that's the thing that both Drake and Trump understand, that we are living in the economy of attention, right? That the more attention that you give somebody, the more powerful they become. Good attention or bad attention. And that's what kept happening. That's what kept happening in this beef, and that's what kept happening with Drake throughout the years, and that's what keeps happening with Trump. No matter how many cases he's convicted of, no matter how many things he says that are outrageous and terrible, no matter what he says or what he does, he's like one of those, and you can tell me this in the comments, because I'm just thinking of this right now while recording. Sometimes in comic books or in movies, the villain gets some kind of armor or something, and the more you punch them, they like absorb the energy and they become stronger. That's the kind of people that Kendrick and Drake are. So how do you defeat them? A funny thing is that in a way, Drake and Trump are similar in the way that they infested the people that they represent. So if you haven't seen FD Signifier's video on the Kendrick and Drake beef, please watch it. It's one of those videos, it's 3 hours long, and when you're like 10 minutes left, you're like, oh, come on, please, please keep going. Like, you just wish it would go on and on. You wish it was, I don't know, an iCarly video. Like, you just want to just keep watching. It's that good. And it's filled with lots of great ideas. But one of my favorites is how he describes the insidious way that Drake wormed his way into the center of rap music. Because he's not the kind of guy who was championed at the time. He was not the kind of rapper that was in the center of discourse. He was softer, he sang more, he was Canadian, he was half black, he all these things. He was an actor, you know, a Canadian teenage soap opera star, okay? If you were to tell someone in 2001, hey, the biggest rap star in the world is a Canadian teenage soap opera star, okay, you wouldn't believe it. And what's fascinating is that in both cases, in Trump and Drake, the people who were the gatekeepers sort of let them in. You know, like, we'll just let Drake in. He does some interesting stuff. He has some cool crossover appeal. Lil Wayne thinks he's cool. I like Lil Wayne. We'll just kind of let this happen. Hey, you know, Trump is kind of a weird guy. He used to be a Democrat, and I don't really know, but, you know, he gets people excited, and it's good. And listen, once we've gotten what we can from this figure, once we've drained them dry of all the positive attention that they bring towards mainstream rap, once we bring all the positive attention towards the Republican Party, we'll just kind of cut them out, and then we'll go along our merry way with traditional mainstream rappers, with traditional Republicans. But it was a deal with the devil in both cases. It was a deal with the devil. It was a Faustian bargain, if you want to get grand with it. Because all of a sudden, mainstream rap was selling better than it had ever sold. All of a sudden, rap was the biggest music in the world, but it had to go through Drake. The Republicans were winning. The Republicans had finally beaten the Democrats in 2016, but there was no more Republican Party. There was Trumpism. And if you weren't a Trumpist, you were inevitably either marginalized or cut out of the party entirely. That's what's happened to the Republican Party. I have friends who are Republican, and I legitimately feel bad for them, even though I ideologically disagree with them, because they don't even have a party anymore. They don't even have anybody who represents what they believe. And never-Trumpers are super rare, very rare, and they're easily excised. And one thing that FD Signifier points out pretty well is there weren't that many never-Drakers either, you know? I mean, people, you know, whatever, Charlemagne the God was pretty staunch against him, and DMX, and Pusha T. But, you know, even when you think about, like, the great clashes with Drake that have happened throughout history, like, Kanye West eventually worked with him. Eventually, like, you know, as Kendrick said, he was slightly confused. Because the idea was, as long as rap wins, then we all win. As long as the Republicans win, then we all win. And this figure at the center becomes bigger than what it ended up representing. It becomes bigger than rap, it becomes bigger than the Republicans. More guilty, more support. More albums that people don't like but hesitantly support, more bloated albums, more young rappers who are sort of sucked dry of their influence and virility. It's just there. And then who do we have on our side? What champions do we have to fight? Hillary, all right. Pusha T, Meek Mill. The problem is Meek Mill and Pusha T are not in Drake's weight class. They are lightweights compared to Drake in terms of popularity and power, okay? I'm not saying that Pusha T is not, you know, one of probably the 20 best rappers of all time, okay? He is. I mean, Pusha T is amazing. He's a much better rapper, much better creator than Drake is, but still, I mean, they're not on the same playing field. And we already discussed Kanye abdicated his role as Drake fighter. So isn't it weird that the person who we end up having champion us, by us, I mean people who are on behalf of hip-hop that's more authentic, that's less commercial, we had Kendrick, who's like, he's old, you know? He's been around for a long time. He's what, 36, 37? And he's basically retired. He's like building bikes, you know? He's not even out there, you know, protesting with everybody. And he's going to be the person who's going to come up and he's going to beat Drake. He's the person who's going to do it because he understands a couple things. Number one, the main thing, how do you defeat somebody who can't be beat, who can't take damage? You have to make it so that they can't win. That's a complicated concept, but I'm going to be fleshing that out throughout the video. It requires timing, and it requires allowing people to make unforced errors. It's all going to tie together when we get into the boxing ring. Give me a second. Now, listen. I'm a big Dark Brandon guy, okay? And I understand that conspiracy theories are usually useless and pointless. But it's not a conspiracy theory to recognize strategy when it's happening. In 2019, Biden announced he was a one-term president. He was going to be passing the baton. As time went on, he started to change what he's saying. Now, maybe that's true. Maybe he legitimately did not want to drop out of the race until he announced it a couple weeks ago. But what if this longtime politician was actually a master strategist? What if he was always going to drop out after the RNC? If I put that in your mind, what if he was always going to drop Meet the Grahams? What if it was always bait? Every time that Biden said, I'm not dropping out, every time he looked old, and then he's keeping Kamala out of the discussion. Where is Harris? Where is she? She's nowhere to be seen. She's a phantom. We've never seen her. She doesn't speak. She doesn't talk. Biden is taking punch after punch. Is he even trying? Did you see that debate? Did you see that debate? I watched that debate while putting my child to sleep, and it was the most depressed I've ever been politically. I couldn't believe it. He took a question on abortion, the biggest winning thing, issue that the Democrats have, and he turned it around. And in his defense of a woman's right to choose, he congratulated Trump on attending the funeral of a woman who had allegedly been murdered by an undocumented immigrant. He literally took his greatest strength and turned it into the greatest strength of his opponent. He looked so bad. I'm not pulling out. I'm in it for the long run. I can do it. I can do it. But the question is, what if it was strategy? It was bait. He was getting his opponent to do what he wanted him to do. What if it was rope-a-dope? Side note, I've been listening to the new JPEG Mafia album. Maybe you're watching this video saying, Skye, come on, do the JPEG Mafia thing. I'm doing it. It's summer. I don't have a ton of time because I have a baby on the way anytime, but still. And I was listening to Vince Staples' excellent verse, and he actually said Bombaye. And when he said Bombaye, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. That's what Muhammad Ali got everyone to chant, Ali Bombaye, Ali kill him, at the Rumble in the Jungle. And oh my God, Kendrick and Drake. It's the Rumble in the Jungle. So this is my little side quest I'm going to be going on here. Okay, I'm going to be explaining how Ali and Foreman is very similar to Kendrick and Drake. So if you don't know, in 1974, very controversial and problematic figure Don King had a fight for Muhammad Ali against George Foreman. Now, George Foreman now is a very sort of cute figure in pop culture who has a grill and named all of his kids George and all that. But it's got a very, very interesting history, this fight. Now, I'm not going to go into the to what was going on in the country that was then called Zaire. I'm not going to be talking about Mobutu Sese Seko. I'll include a link in the description if you want to watch a pretty good description of the background of this whole fight. Very problematic. Don King and Mobutu Sese Seko are both very complicated figures. I'm not going to get into here, but the most important thing is the world was on, their eyes were on this battle. Much like with Kendrick and Drake, the entire world was watching Ali and Foreman. And the thing is, Muhammad Ali at this point was old. He was too old. He wasn't able to actually beat Foreman. Foreman was young. He was tall. You watch him box, and it's like he was unbeatable. You know, he was just this huge, young, powerful guy, you know? And if you watch the movie When We Were Kings by Leon Gast, an amazing movie. I cannot suggest it enough. It goes deeper than that. Not only was it seen as impossible that Ali could possibly win because, you know, he gave up his belt because he refused to go to Vietnam. He was a conscientious objector. You know, he's like, I don't know. You know, everyone asks, you know, should we add another face to Mount Rushmore? I would like to put Muhammad Ali there, okay? That's how much I think Muhammad Ali is an amazing American figure. That would be awesome. So I'm just coming up with that idea right now. Can't you picture it? Those four dudes and Muhammad Ali. But anyways, you know, he was too old. He was never going to win. So Ali beat him with strategy. He wasn't capable. You can't beat this man. He's too strong. He's too fast. You have to use strategy. First thing he did was he turned the crowd against him. George Foreman is an African American. Muhammad Ali is an African American. Muhammad Ali effectively made it that he was the only person you could support if you were against colonizers and against white supremacy. It is an amazing trick that he pulled off, where he was able to paint George Foreman as essentially, like, functionally serving as a face of white supremacy, despite the fact he was another black boxer. It's an amazing trick that he did. That's what the expression Ali Bombaye means. That means Ali kill him in the language, you know, in the local language. And it's an amazing thing. And of course, Foreman had a German Shepherd, and he showed up with a German Shepherd. Don't have German Shepherds. I'm sorry. Just German Shepherds really traumatize a lot of people, because a lot of people have been traumatized by German Shepherds. I'm sure they're wonderful dogs, but just in general, it's like, I don't know. It's like having a cop's baton as a dog. Anyways, so that's the one aspect where when I'm talking about Drake and Kendrick, I mean, that's what the fight ended up being as well. It ended up being like either you are for the black guy who's fighting on behalf of black culture, or you're for the avatar of whiteness, even though he, of course, is not white, right? That's the magic that Kendrick was able to achieve so completely. Again, please see FD Signifier's video on it more. He speaks a lot more authority and intelligence than I am right now. But, so they became champions. He turned a battle that was just an old boxer versus a new boxer to ideological champions, and then came the fight. And this is where things get wild. Because you've maybe heard the term rope-a-dope before. It was invented to describe this fight. He came out, threw a few punches, didn't really work. And then he started taking punches. Muhammad Ali took punch after punch after punch. I will include a link to a YouTube video that explains this more specifically. It's called like martial arts. Anyways, I'll put it in the description. It's fascinating. So what he did was, I'm sorry, you know, I deserve to do a little more respect than that. It is called, the channel is called The Modern Martial Artist. Very good website. A very good channel there. So for 8 rounds, Muhammad Ali uses the ropes to his advantage. He leans back on the ropes and he starts taking punches, but he's deflecting them subtly with his forearms. And he is moving Foreman to punch him in the way that he wants to. And Foreman is expending more and more energy, punching who he thinks is his prey, who's wounded and is just about to be knocked out. He thinks, you know, when you're playing a video game and you have like that much left on the health bar of the bad guy and you think you got him and you just keep going, but then you realize that's actually the first phase of the boss, and then he's going to go like and then turn into some kind of mega monster. That's what Ali did to Foreman. He was screaming at him, "That all you got, George?" And George just kept punching him and punching him and punching him. And that's how it felt. You know, that's how it felt with Biden. He was just getting punched and punched and punched. He gives that terrible talk. And then he gives an interview where he said, "Only God can take me out." And he got COVID, and we all believed it. We all believed that he would not do it. Okay? We all believed that he could not get out, that his boomer pride was going to keep him in the race. And Drake releases Push-Ups. Like, that's a pretty good track. There's no real direct response from Kendrick here. And then Trump gets shot in the ear and looks like a badass saying, "Fight, fight, fight." It's as dark as it could possibly be. Ali is there taking punch after punch for 8 rounds. By the strongest man in the world is punching him for 8 rounds. And then the Family Matters video comes out. And it's the best attack on Kendrick. It's the best song. It's a great video. At this point, Trump gets froggy. He has the RNC, you know, the Republican National Convention. He doesn't need to actually have a running mate who provides any contrast at all. He can double down because he is just punching this guy on the ropes. He's an old, feeble man. He can't do anything. Just keep punching and punching. Gets Vance, it's in the bag. Hulk Hogan comes out. It's in the bag. It's in the bag. It's in the bag for Drake. It's in the bag for Foreman. It's in the bag for Trump. And then in the 8th round, Ali stops. He stops doing rope-a-dope. He sees this is the moment that his opponent is tired, and he starts punching. Now that everything has happened, now that we have Trump, who has been shot and almost murdered and chosen by God and picks his debate, we now have the perfect moment. This is supposed to turn into the dark. Oh, it's not warm enough. Oh, it's coming. Okay? This is the perfect moment. This is where Dark Brandon appears and pulls out of the race. Now, all of a sudden, all of the attacks on him for all 8 rounds, all 4 years, are useless. Now, he's not the old guy anymore. He's gone. Now they can do what they want to do and push forward the agenda that they want now that they've been on the ropes. That 15 minutes in between Meet the Grahams and Family Matters, that 15 minutes where it seemed like it was over. I lived it. I was in the bathroom back there, okay? I don't know. I was like getting ready to go to bed and I was checking my phone. I sometimes like brush my teeth downstairs so I don't wake my wife up because, you know, she's wicked pregnant. And I see like, oh man, Drake released a song. That's terrible. And, you know, I wasn't there right as it dropped. And then by the time I was done watching the video, I learned about this other song that had come out. It was timed just right. Just right. Republican candidates are supposed to get a bump after their convention. All candidates are. You're supposed to get a bump when you survive an assassination attempt and you look like a badass doing it. You're supposed to do that, but in that exact moment, bam, Biden pulls out, Muhammad Ali starts punching, and Kendrick drops Family Matters. Meet the Grahams. It's just perfect. And then at that point, it's all just cruising. All of a sudden, everyone's like, oh my God, well, that song's great. Wow, that really seemed to work. Well, those are crazy accusations. Of course, I'll drop the boxing metaphor now. Muhammad Ali, you need to watch the knockout. Poor George Foreman, he's a great boxer. Seems like he's a good man, as far as I can tell. He didn't deserve all the hate that he got. It was just beautiful strategy by Ali. Just basically falls over because he's so tired from punching so long. So I'm done with the boxing metaphor. Now we have picking Harris. He made us believe he wasn't going to leave, and then he does. And then once he does, we have the next moment, the next parallel. What's the attack on Trumpism that's working? Is it that they're dictators? No. Is it that they are against a woman's choice to choose? No. Is it Project 2025? No. Is it the fact that he's a criminal? No. What can make us actually dislike this man? What can make the country turn against him? Because force is not working. Truth is not working. Justice is not working. Baca has got a weird case. Why is he around? Weird. That's the word. That's what they used. That was it. Tim, I want to say Kaine out of Minnesota. No, it's not Tim Kaine. It's Tim something. Just crack the code. Just call him weird. That's what you do. You make it clear that it's not that they're so powerful that they must be stopped. Because if you tell an American that someone is really powerful and they must be stopped, most Americans would go, oh, there's somebody powerful? Cool. I want to be with that person. I want to be a Yankees fan and a Cowboys fan, all right? We are a country of Yankees and Cowboys fans, okay? That's the country that we are. We don't even watch soccer because we don't win. So it's not that they're so big and so bad and so unbeatable. It's that they're weird and they don't belong. The way you get Trump and Vance out is you tell the entire country, hey, they're not like us. That's the platform. They're not like us. Why are they weird? Why are they looking at people's genitals all the time? Why are they looking at their kids' porn consumption? It's just weird. It's just weird. Who are these people, man? What? I'm sorry. I got confused there for a while. I thought that I was living in a rational place. Who are these people? What is going on? Baca's got a weird case. Why is he around? And that's what works. That's what actually hits. That's what goes stronger than the accusations. It's more powerful than receipts, is perception. Heart Part 6 comes out, and Drake tries to hit back, but he doesn't know how to do it. And the more he tries to hit back, the weirder he looks. Because if you call somebody too strong, then they can respond by being too strong. And let's not get it twisted. My wife and I argue about this all the time. Trump is a political genius. She says he's clever Hans. He's like a horse who is asked to count 2 + 2 and then stomps on the ground, and when he hits 4, everyone claps. I think Trump is a genius. I think Drake is a genius, okay? They're probably actually not that far apart from each other in their geniusness, but that's fine. Doesn't matter. We can have our disagreements on that. It's like he can't get out of the weird framing. So he goes and he gives his speech, and he goes to the black journalist thing, yesterday, 2 days ago, and he gives a talk, and he starts being weird again and saying that somebody who's half black isn't black. And it's just you can say, oh, it's racist. And people will go, well, it's not necessarily racist. It's an interesting question about how do biracial people use their identity. No. It's weird. If you had a colleague who was, I don't know, half Japanese and half German, would you ask them if they're really Japanese and tell them that they're not Japanese when they tell you that they're Japanese? It's just weird. We just don't do it. And then at the same time, all of a sudden, all the things that Drake had that Kendrick didn't. Popularity. Hits. With Not Like Us, they have the hit. With Kamala Harris, they have the hits. They have the rallies. They have the attention. That one thing that they couldn't have, they now have. So there you go. We'll see how it plays out. It's worth mentioning, Biden did use euphoria in his branding, right? I hate the way that you walk, all that, you know? This morning when I was watching YouTube while I was eating breakfast, getting ready for this video, I saw Ronnie Chang on Daily Show, and he said, you know, that Trump can't say how black you are, only Kendrick can. We're going to see it everywhere. The more the time passes, this parallel is going to become more and more clear. And I'm all for it. These are my Patreons. They help me to buy music and diapers. I'm going to need more diapers soon. So if you want to be my Patreon, you can do that. You can smash the like bucket. You can subscribe. You can put in AVAA. It stands for Awesome Video as always. Unless you're too mad at me because you're mad at Biden's policies on either side. I understand. You didn't say he was perfect, man. I think tough times. All right. Well, until next time, provided that I don't think I said anything like too bad. Right? Too challenging, too negative. I called the man a genius. Biden's not a genius. But this is a great move, though. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. There's the camera.